to provide you big content in small pieces.
The wire connecting music lovers around the world. You're listening to Aux. Giving you a dose of R&B with the click of the play button.
I'm your host, Deluxe Dave.
Just connecting your cord to Aux. What's hanging, all of my music lovers out there? It is your man once again, Deluxe Dave, here with another episode of Aux. When you tune into this show right here on the CWF network, you're tuning into a R&B podcast where each and every single week I am giving you my take on music from past to present, along with things about artists and even some of my favorite music artists from that week. You can only hear shows like this right here on the CWF network, where each and every week I'm bringing you big content in small pieces. Well, I know y'all are ready for summer to actually get here. It feels like winter doesn't want to let go of us. It has like a tight grip on everything that is going on. It's like one day it'll be like real cold, and then the next day it wants to get hot, and then it wants to be a little breezy, then it wants to rain, which rain is like part of spring. But I'm kind of wanting the weather to just be steady. If you're going to be hot, be hot. If you're going to be cold, but this taking out winter jackets and pulling blankets back out and pulling, turning the heat back on and doing all this other stuff, I'm not here for that. You need to choose what you're going to do. Don't be bipolar with me, weather. I was watching like this meme on like one of the sites. It might have been TikTok, Instagram, something, but it basically was talking about the weather in New York. This girl was about to go out in her like dress and everything, and she was stepping outside to go into the New York, spring, summer type thing, and then the spring, summer knocked her back down and put her in winter clothes. And she was like, oh, I guess I can't be in the hot weather because winter want to hold on. So basically I'm saying I want winter to get on out of here. We've had enough cold weather. It's time to bring on the warm weather. Let people wear shorts. People are starting to get vaccinated, do all that good stuff. Perfect time to come out here and have a good time for the summer. But this is the episode that I have been waiting to do for so long. If you believe it or not, I've been waiting to do this episode since the beginning of the year because it's something that's been on my mind. I said it's been 20 years already, and I say I have to talk about this album because it is so ingrained in my brain. It is one of my favorite albums from this group. This album is called Survivor, and tomorrow, Survivor, on May 1st, Survivor turns 20 years old. Can you believe that Destiny's Child Survivor album is 20 years old now? It just blows my mind, and it makes me think back to when I went and first purchased the Survivor album. I was in high school. I was in my senior year of high school. This was 2001. And I can remember getting off of school. I'm not sure if somebody took me home or if I rode the bus home, but I probably wasn't riding the bus then, because in my senior year I was always getting rides from people. I did not have a car at that time yet because my parents didn't trust me to drive around in the car or even want to teach me. But nevertheless, I did get home, and I remember darting out the car. Like I said, I don't want to do anything after school. I jumped out of that car and I was like, I got to get over to Circuit City quick, fast, and in a hurry. Circuit City was not too far from where I lived, and I can remember getting on my bike. Yes, I still had a bike back then. Got on my little red bike, and I pedaled my way over to Circuit City, making sure, because at that time, they didn't hold CDs or anything like that. They didn't put anything on hold if it was a brand new release. So I can remember hopping on my bike, I don't believe I remember all this either. Pedaling on my bike to go and purchase the Survivor album. I had saved up all of my Bob Evans tips. Yes, that was my first real job in high school, and you could save your tips and stuff. The checks weren't that big because we got paid $2.13 an hour, but them tips was good. So I saved up the tip amount of money. Back then, I guess CDs were I think around $12 or $13 maybe at that time. And basically I went there and I bought the Survivor album from Circuit City. I was so excited, pedaled all the way back home. And when I get a CD, I think I explained this last year, but when I get a CD, and I still do this a little bit to this day because now I've been getting into vinyl, so I've not been getting as many CDs now, but I used to crack, take the cellophane off, take the plastic off of the CD. I used to crack it open, and I used to smell the inside of the CD, the paper and everything. Yes, that's very, very weird, but I did. I smelled the CD, and then I would look through the pictures first. It was a whole big deal, you guys. It was a whole big deal. It was like getting a brand new car. It was a whole big deal for me to get a brand new CD. So I would smell the CD, you know, the insides, and then I would take the CD out very carefully because I didn't want to break anything. I didn't want to like mess up the brackets that held the CD in. I would try to wiggle it out because it was real tight in there. I would wiggle out the CD, and I placed it in my CD player, and I pressed that play button, and the first song that came on there was Independent Woman Part 1 from the Charlie's Angel, you know, song that was out at the time, because the Charlie's Angel movie was really big, and that was like the theme song for Charlie's Angel, and that was a huge summer movie and everything like that. So I was past that already because they had already played Independent Woman. That was played out. I think that movie had come out in like 2000, I believe. So that was an older song at the time. So I skipped that and went straight to Survivor. And I think at this time, music videos had come out before. Maybe they came out at the same time as the song. I really can't remember. I remember everything else, but I don't remember that. But I played Survivor all the way through. I was so excited because that was the second song on the album. And then I just started to engulf myself inside of the CD, because basically at this time, like, Beyonce was starting to blow up. She was becoming like this solo, because the same day I believe that this album came out, the Carmen the Hip Hopper was getting ready to premiere on MTV. If any of you remember that whole ordeal that was on MTV, it was a hip opera, had the Brad in there, had a few other people were in there. So I think Mos Def was in there. It was a lot of different people that were in this hip hopper that came on MTV. A lot of people didn't like it. I actually own the DVD. I enjoyed watching it for the nostalgia, but it wasn't that great acting wise, but the singing and the songs were on point. So this was around the time when Beyonce had really been blowing up. So like, I was already ready for half of the songs on there. Then Bootylicious was on there. We had Bootylicious, and that was a hot song. Like, every single song that was on here was like hit. Even though a lot of stuff wasn't always radio play. I think Survivor, Independent Woman, Bootylicious was played on the radio. And I believe they might have played Emotion on the radio also. That might have been another one that was pretty popular from that album. But all the way through, there are certain songs that hit me in so many different ways when I'm listening to this album, because each song was so, for like when I was growing up, this was right around my age. Like, these girls were not much older than me. So all the songs related with what I was like in high school. So it was like, you had your party songs, Bootylicious, Nasty Girl, you talking about nasty, put some clothes on, I told you, don't walk out the house without the yeah, it was a whole song. Nasty, Fancy, I don't fancy you too much, child. That song, oh my gosh. I even did like a little remake song to Rona. When Rona was out, I got the instrumental to that, and I did a whole like remix. Go look at that. It's on my Instagram page. But it was a whole thing. Fancy was beautiful. Apple Pie a la mode. Even though people thought this album was so dingy, I loved the entire album. Sexy Daddy, Independent Woman Part 2, which sounded like a whole circus when it begins, but I still love that Independent Woman Part 2 remix. You had Happy Face, which puts me in such a good mood on there. I mean, Emotion, that was a remake of the Bee Gees. Dangerously in Love was even on there, and that was even before Beyonce redid Dangerously in Love and put it on her solo album that came out in 2003. And then you got the Brown Eyes, and I still listen to that to this day. I love Brown Eyes. I can sing that entire song. I think it's a beautiful medley to someone that you really, 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 really love. The Story of Beauty, it's a whole story within a story. They could have done a music video to that. And then it finishes out with like a gospel medley and an outro with all of them like thanking people. I really wanted a deluxe album to this album. Even it had 15 songs on it, so that's pretty much enough for it. Didn't really need a deluxe, but I would have even loved a deluxe. But Survivor was one of, to me, Destiny's Child's best work. This was when we were actually breaking out of, you know, the Destiny's Child didn't know if it was going to be 2 people, if it was going to be 5 people, if Solange was going to join. It was the first album to have all 3 singing, even the little parts that they had Michelle sing on the bridge, and people tease that all the time because Michelle always sang all the bridges, but she tore up every one of them bridges, mind you. So she tore up all the bridges, but I can just remember loving this CD so much when it came out. I already loved Destiny's Child from Writings on the Wall, and I had gone back and listened to the very first album that was just the Destiny's Child self-titled. And I can just remember taking the CD with me to school all the way till when we graduated, like later in June. I was taking that CD with me to school. I was playing it in my little portable CD player at the time, and I could sing almost every song after a week. I knew like every song from the CD. So when I listen back to this album, it brings back so many memories. It brings back so much like joy to me. And another reason why I feel like this meant so much to me at this as an album was because little did I know, going to Circuit City that day, picking out that album, did I know like 3 months later in late August, I was going to have a seizure in that very same store that I got this Destiny's Child CD from and lose my memory. Like, that's a story I don't tell too much, but I said that was a huge thing for me because I really did not go to college on time. I lost my memory. All of these things were happening to me. And this album, not that this particular album pulled me through, but when I got out of everything and getting my memory back and being in, hospitals and going to rehab and doing all these things and finally getting to college at 2003, the song Survivor means so much more to me than what it did back then, because back then it was just like this song, like a little petty song to me. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up. I thought that was directed towards LaToya and Latavia because, they abandoned it, or they were either fired from the group or left the group, or Matthew fired them, and they were like, we still gonna be a group, we gonna make it, Destiny's Child is still gonna stand, we got Michelle here, has our back, even with Farrah gone, we gonna talk to all y'all girls. So I thought it was like a shady song, but look at how the meaning of the song 20 years later has changed so much for me, from being a shady song to like a song of survival. Like, how back in the day I Will Survive was out, and that was like the song of empowerment and everything like that. That's what this song is for my generation. Survivor is a song, and the album in general is just a song to me that shows that you can still make it. You are strong. You are stronger than what you think. And that's why that song means so very much to me. And I love everything about it. Even the videos that came out for the album. It's just a wonderful piece of work, and it needs to be honored. I need a vinyl for that CD. I hope that around this time when this show is released, that they come out with a vinyl to Survivor at some point in time this year, because that album is the bomb, and there's not many Destiny's Child vinyls that I can find, and I keep trying to find them, and I hope that they do release it to this, because this album means so much to me. I would love like a silver looking or gold type Survivor album, because that album sold some records. I mean, it sold some it did huge numbers. It was a really great, well put together album, and I love Destiny's Child for that album, and I can't even speak highly enough about it. Anyways, I'm gonna give you my 3 favorite people in music, and guess who it is? It's very obvious who my 3 favorite people in music are this week, because they are celebrating this milestone of this 20-year beautiful album that I believe went platinum. I do believe. Beyonce Knowles, Michelle Williams, and Kelly Rowland. I honor you guys today for the beautiful work that y'all did, pressing forward, even with all the mishaps and the missteps and, the group breaking up and all of the hardships that were going on at that time. Y'all came out with a solid piece of work. I remember going to see you guys live. I've only seen Destiny's Child as a collective one time live, and I barely saw them because I was way in the back at the Ohio State Fair, and I can remember sneaking actually to go because I think I was either on punishment or I couldn't do something, but I said I was going somewhere and I didn't go there, and I went to the Ohio State Fair, which was, not good, but I was, my tail was being real rambunctious, but I went to the Ohio State Fair and I got to see Destiny's Child live, and I just remember the specific song, Happy Face. So whenever I hear that song from that CD, I think of that. That was their closing song at the Ohio State Fair when I got to see them all together at that time, and it was very young in the time of them. So that was not, they weren't as polished then as what they have become. But I would love to see another reunion from these girls. I know it gets teased all the time. I know everybody's talking about Beyonce could be, winding down pretty soon, so we don't know if we'll ever get it, but I feel like all of them are at this place in their career where it definitely could happen. So I really do hope to see Destiny's Child come out with something like a reunion or an album, one more album, just to give us one more good one. Destiny Fulfilled was wonderful, but I would love to just hear one more thing of how it is now and everything you guys have been through and just writing from your hearts. It would be wonderful. So those are my 3 favorite people in music. I really want to know what you guys thought about Survivor. Was it one of your favorite Destiny's Child albums? Or a lot of people like Destiny Fulfilled, but I want to hear your thoughts on that specific album because it is my favorite. You can call or text the CWF Network hotline at 347-719-3350. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at CWFP_ and follow me, Deluxe Dave, on Instagram at DeluxeDave. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this special, wonderful edition that I really was looking forward to doing on Aux. But never forget, there is so much great music out there. The key is to know which song matches the moment. So if I gave you the aux chord, would you know what to do with it? Till next time, I'll catch y'all around.
This is the CWF network, where we bring you big content in small pieces. Follow us on Instagram at CWFP_. Okay, bye.